All right, 97.7 Outlaw Radio FM listeners, we got the one, the only, we got the owner of Big Rah Management. We got Big Rah right here, right now on the line. How you doing this evening?
What's good? What's good? Thank you for having me, man. What's good?
You are most certainly welcome, man. And I do want to say first and foremost, thank you for giving me this interview, man, because I remember when we first got connected, you told me that you don't do a lot of interviews, man. So thank you for giving me a little bit of your time.
Nah, no problem, no problem. Can you hear me good?
Oh, I can hear you great, man. I can hear you great.
Cool, cool.
So I want to ask you, Rah, like, what made you decide to get into the music industry from the beginning?
Wow, this goes way back to when I peaked in the third. By the Fatback Band came out. I had that record. I heard about it. I went, I bought it, went home, put it on, and then on the break, I had to do rhyming, and that was the first time I heard anything like that. So I remember calling all my peeps on the block. Yo, come hear this, come hear this. We heard it, and man, the look on their face, it was awesome. You know, meeting Russell Simmons after that, that inspired me more, and it just kept going from there. I got into management. I was doing favors for people, you know, just getting the producers and stuff like that I happened to know. And next thing you know, people say, yo, you're doing like management stuff. So that's how I started getting into that.
And also, one thing I do want to ask you, man, like, as we already know, you're the owner of Big Rah Management. Can you tell us a bit more about your company? And of course, if artists are looking to inquire about getting a manager, how do they go about getting that from you?
For me right now, as far as getting an artist, they have to blow me away. It just can't be what I hear every day. That would be something different that's going to blow me away. You know, I've had some really good artists. Unfortunately, things didn't work out, and I would just keep them moving. But in the meantime, in between the management, what I do is I try to help people out. Either getting shows or getting producers and stuff like that. So until I have an artist, and then, you know, if I hear something that's, you know, like, wow, it's blowing me away, let me hear some more, then I'll get involved. It's got to blow me away.
And speaking of helping people out, man, you actually are the individual that gave Tracy Morgan, the comedian, his big start. I have to ask you, how did you get Tracy Morgan connected with Def Jam Comedy, and what's the story behind all that?
As far as that goes, I had a friend of mine, George, told me about a comedian that he knows. His name is Tracy, and I was like, Tracy? The person, you know, that. So we drove from Brooklyn to the Bronx, and as soon as he came out, he just looked funny. He got into the car, got in the back seat, started saying jokes all the way from the Bronx all the way back to Brooklyn, and I said, you know what? I'm going to do some stuff for you. So I started getting him some shows. I ended up taking him with me to that comedy jam. Russell Simmons had me come down. And from there, I took him with me, and we started getting him some shows and stuff like that. Unfortunately, we had our little differences, so I went my way, he went his way, and things picked up even more for him. But, you know, I wish nothing but the best, but we still keep in touch here and there.
That's actually really cool. I gotta say though, Rah, thank you for helping to give birth to an amazing comedian. Because one of my favorite movies is actually Cop Out. You know what I mean? So 30 Rock was another great show that Tracy Morgan was actually a part of. So man, you most definitely helped the comedy community out for sure.
Yeah, I remember back then he didn't really have a lot of confidence, and he said, "Yo, well, you think I could do this? I could do this." I said, "Yo, you got this." You know, he reminded me of Robin Harris. Each comedian have their own lane. And Robin Harris was the guy that played the father in House Party. And he's a funny comedian, so I've seen the same thing for Tracy. I just say, yo, just keep doing what you're doing. And things to go.
And I do want to say I'm glad he's still here with us as well, because I remember a few years back he got into that terrible car accident.
Yeah, he did. I happened to see him. I haven't seen him for a while, and then time went by, and then when he came out to Massachusetts to do a show, you know, I seen that he was going to be doing this show right near me. And so I said, you know what, let's get some tickets, let's go. So when I went, I sat by this table, which is right by the entrance, and they come out. I sent them a note. I was back there, in less than 30 seconds, the guy came back and said, yo, come back. So me and Whitey went to the back, and he just jumped up and so happy to see it.
And you were also the manager for Hectic of Saint the Squad. I have to ask you, how did you get connected with Hectic, and how did you become his manager?
Hectic is a dope artist. Wow, how I heard music, and I kept hearing this guy say, I first met Hectic by business, no music, this business. A couple weeks went by, I heard the song. Somebody said, with Crumb Snatch on it, and then next, I said, who's that? And they said, yo, that's Hectic. I said, what Hectic? They said, Hectic. I was like, wow, he rhymes too. So after that, I respected him for, keeping it business and then music. He never let me know he rhymed. It was all about business. But then when it came to the music aspect part of it, it took off from there. So he's doing his thing. He's got some new stuff coming out soon.
I have to say, I still remember when Saint the Squad mixtape actually got released in 2008. Man, that was a straight slapper. Down here in Canada, we all love that. We all love that mixtape.
Yeah, it's dope. They're doing their thing, man. The whole SD Squad. Shout out to them for Terminology.
And speaking of that as well, Terminology is actually the founder of Saint the Squad, which he's actually coming up after this interview. But I have to ask you, you also did a few tours with Terminology, and I have to ask you, what was it like being on the road with him? And of course, how did yourself and Terminology actually get connected, management-wise?
Wow, when I moved out of here to Massachusetts in '04, I left New York to get away from the music, and for some reason, it just pulled me back in. And then I heard about this guy named Terminology, and so I started watching a bunch of videos. By the time I knew it, it was an hour and a half already went by. I was like, wow. I said, I hope to meet this dude someday. And then a couple of years go by, I end up meeting him, and we kept talking, and the next, I did one tour that went good. We did another tour. So I did around 3 tours a term, going from east to west and back.
So was it only U.S. or did you guys actually go out of the country together as well during those tours?
Nah, it was all U.S. tours, but being with Term on tour is amazing. He's pleasant, he'll sign autographs, he'll stop, take pictures. He was easy. He was easy to deal with on tour. Not very difficult at all. Easy rider, the pay, everything was good.
So everybody that is actually listening, make sure you all stick around after this interview. We're going to have some music, of course, and then Terminology is going to be on at 9:30. So make sure you stick around for some great stories and, of course, helping to promote some of his brand new work. And also, Rah, you were telling me during our previous conversations that you were actually around Russell Simmons and the late, great Jam Master Jay. Can you tell us what that experience was like, being in the same room as a legendary JMJ?
Wow, I think it was 1990. I was working for Elite Model Management. I was a purchasing agent. They had a party on the west side of Manhattan on a boat. And I ended up going. And the next thing you know, I seen Russell Simmons there. And I said, hold on a second. I got to go talk to this guy. So I went. Within 15 minutes, I came back with all his numbers. He gave me like 3 numbers. I blew him away. He had me go from there to Rush Communications. They were impressed. And I go back home, and Russell Simmons is calling my house to thank me. I was bugging out, like, are you serious right now? He was thanking me. I don't know why, but I guess they said good things and all that. So from there, he invited me to go out, but unfortunately, I turned him down because my daughter was just born, and my wife just came home. So, I told him I had to come into jail, and he respected that. So, it never got to happen, but we kept in touch. I was always up at Def Jam. Went to the Def Jam Christmas parties, and I met Marvin Thompson. Marvin Thompson is Jason Mizell, which is Jam Master Jay's brother. They have different fathers, same mother. I met Jam Master Jay from Marvin, and then from there, I would go up into the studio. I was up there with Onyx when he had Joe Sinister, J.O. Felony. Good times, man, good times. And he always treated me well. I went to Junior's, he ate some cheesecake with him. I remember that. That was amazing. But other than that, he treated me well, man. I miss him. Rest in peace, JMJ. That was awesome. That was good feelings back then, man. Real good.
And before we move off the JMJ topic, the one thing I've always wanted to know, and I'm pretty sure a lot of the hip hop fans would want to know this as well. Like, what was JMJ like? You know, like out, like obviously away from the cameras type thing, just behind closed doors. What was the legendary Jam Master Jay like?
He was pleasant. He was pleasant. He treated me like I was one of the guys. Never meet certain artists that have a certain way about them and all that. Not Jay. I just never got that from him. You know, I remember I went with an ounce of weed. They had no weed. It was him and Onyx in the studio. And I walked in with that bag, and that boy was like open. And I just have a lot of good times with him. Too bad I didn't take pictures back then. We didn't have phones and all that, and I wasn't used to carrying cameras with me.
Most definitely, I got to say, rest in peace to Jam Master Jay. And also, you do work. You just became the manager actually for Tash from the legendary Alcoholics. I have to ask you, how did you get connected with Tash, man? And like, of course, what is it like working with a West Coast legend like him?
I'm not his manager. I'm doing work for him right now.
Oh, my apologies.
That'll be in the future, but I do stuff for Razzcast, doing stuff for YSP, Terminology, Tash, you know, the cat out in Arizona. And also I can't forget Capital I, man, of the Mexican. Shout out to them. And also my man, Sick Phillips, out in Arizona. He's amazing.
And also, you were telling me briefly earlier today about back in the day you actually worked in the mailroom at the Sony building where you ended up taking over for Curious George after he landed a record deal. Can you tell our listeners a bit more about that story? And of course, what was it like working in the mailroom of the Sony building?
Well, I happened to get the JOB out there in the Sony building, and they told me that the guy that just left had got a deal. And his name was Curious George. And I said, oh, word? Nah, no problem. Then the next, he came out with that Walk Like a Duck and then Uptown Hit and all that. So working at Sony, it was amazing. Back then, it was only beepers. So I used to go to all the departments and introduce myself and get their cards. So I had a little can of stuff full of cards from people at Epic Records, Sony, Def Jam, JMJ. I was all over the place. So, it was awesome working there, you know. It was awesome.
And did you ever get like promoted, like actually worked up the ranks of Sony? Like, did you ever work as a manager for Sony, or was it just strictly the mailroom for that particular company?
I was a youngin'. I was just in the mailroom, but I made sure that I knocked on every door and got cards from everybody in every department, so that way they know who I am and what I do.
And also, as we already know, you are a manager for Mr. Freejack. I have to ask you, how did you get connected with Mr. Freejack?
Freejack, I knew about Freejack in the 90s. We hit each other up. Well, I hit him up on Facebook, and we became friends, and we talked sporadically here and there. But in the meantime, in between that, I was doing stuff for another artist, and I was, doing tours and stuff like that. So I guess he was watching my movement. Then he was finishing up Bay Laws. I came in at the end tail of it, and I told him, I just sent him a message saying, yo, you're doing good. I'm proud of you. Keep doing your thing. The next thing you know, he asked me a while, like 2-3 years ago, to manage, and I wasn't really ready yet. And then once I reached out to him after he finished filming the movie, he hit me up. He was like, yo, I really need you to manage me. Boom, boom, boom. And I took a flight out to Oakland, and the rest was history.
Hey, man, you know what? If you have the legendary Freejack wanting you to manage him, man, I have to say, he must have saw great things with you. And I'm going to say, just being able to talk to you the past month and, working with you and booking some of your artists, I'm not just saying this to kiss your ass or anything, I'm going to be honest. You're a very professional but also pleasant individual to do business with, So I want to say thank you for just being a down-to-earth individual.
I appreciate it, man. I just try to keep it real with people. You know what I'm saying? If I'm going to represent you, I'll represent you. I'm not one of these managers that give you a contract and it's about 6 pages long. I don't do things like that. My contract is simple. It gets to the point. There's things in there that I don't want to put that usually I put in the bigger contracts, like they have access. Like if I'm going to manage an artist, I shouldn't have anything to do with his clothing line whatever. It shouldn't even be in that contract. I wasn't there for it. I didn't have nothing to do with it. So I personally believe that's how I am. Other managers will take it from everywhere where they can. That's not me. If I ain't had nothing to do with it, I'm going to exclude that. So I just try to keep it as simple and let's get it popping.
And also, I saw a picture of you on your Facebook with you of Be Real of Cypress Hill, and I noticed in the background it actually was a Be Real TV, like kind of wallpaper. I have to ask you, how did you get connected with Be Real, and were you a guest on Be Real TV?
I was. I forgot the segment I was on with DJ Mark Love from the West Coast. Had us go up there, I bought free deck up there, and I've been up there before that with terminology. He did the hot box.
That's actually really cool. You know what I mean? Not a lot of individuals get the opportunity to actually be in front of Be Real, let alone be on Be Real TV. So that must have been a surreal experience for you.
Oh yeah. Them boys are funny when they're playing dominoes. I'm standing there, they smoking and shit. I'm like, wow, you guys are crazy. But nice guy. It was cool. Treated me good.
So I gotta ask you, Rah, like, what is next for the amazing Big Rah? Is there anything you want to promote? Any projects of any of your artists that are coming out that you want to let our live audience know?
Hectic has some projects coming out. I don't know the name of the project yet, but definitely got a lot of songs done. Free Jack is getting stuff done. Cash has got the Smoothaholics. Rascaz has got some new stuff coming out. So, I'm just going to take it a day at a time and keep doing what I do.
And so, Rah, this is the time in the interview that I give a chance for the individual that comes on the radio station. Just a chance to give shout-outs to whomever they want to give shout-outs to. And if you can, drop them social media handles. That way our listeners can follow you and of course, follow yourself and your artists if they're not already doing so.
No doubt. Facebook, Raul Big Rah De Jesus. Instagram, Raul B. De Jesus. And what else you needed? My apologies.
Oh, no, it's all good. It's if you want to give shout-outs to anybody, you can.
Oh, yeah. Shout out to my dude, Kenny the promoter, Don't Sleep Promotions. Shout out to the Mexicans. Shout out to Six Syllables. Shout out to my people out west, Cash, to the Alcoholics. Just shout out to Term, the whole Let's Get It Squad. Shout out to my peoples in New York, in Brooklyn.
And I gotta say, Big Rah, thank you so much again for coming on 97.7 Outlaw Radio FM. And of course, it's getting me connected with your talent, man. It's an absolute honor and most definitely a privilege. And I'm looking forward to working with you further. But for now, man, have yourself a wonderful night and try and stay safe out there in New York, during this terrible pandemic.
Appreciate it. Now, I'm originally from the South Bronx, but I live out in Massachusetts in the belly of the beach.
Oh, yeah, I was kind of off on that. My apologies. But hey, Massachusetts is probably a lot better than living in a giant city of New York. So.
But my heart's in the BX, though, always.
I gotta say, Big Rah, again, thank you, man, most definitely for coming on the radio station, and we most definitely will talk soon for sure.
I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
You're most certainly welcome. Have yourself a wonderful night.
You too.